June 17th, 1958, a bright, warm Tuesday in Vancouver, British Columbia. In Vancouver Harbor, a giant steel skeleton reaches out from the shores as high steel workers scurry along the girders of what will be the new Second Narrows Bridge. Lou Lassard is one of them. With 10 years of iron work behind him, the 31-year-old is already a front-end foreman on the huge project.
I built bridge in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I built some in New Brunswick. I built some in Quebec. So when I heard about that great big bridge to be built in Vancouver, I thought that was a challenge. That was in my blood. That was the biggest bridge. I want to be part of it.
Lou has a lot of respect for the men who work under him, including young Bill Stroud.
He was an athlete, extremely solid athlete, tall, skinny, healthy, bright, intelligent. So that's why I hired him to work with me, because he got good footing, he's not scared of the air.
Bill is a front-end connector, responsible for joining the huge girders that make up the bridge framework.
When a big 60 or 70 ton girder comes up, you steer it in and you fit that all together, and as quickly as you can you put lining up pins in to hold it temporary. Norm Atkinson and Colin Glendenny was the other connectors on the other side, and Joe Crush and I was connecting. He always had the same partner, and you know what they were capable of, and you trusted them thoroughly.
Joe Crush is not only Bill's partner, but also a good friend, one of the men Bill picks up every morning on his way to work. Since moving here 8 months ago, life has been looking up for Joe, his wife, and their 4 children. But Joe also knows how dangerous his job is. He and the other men work with nothing between them and the churning waters of the Burrard Inlet.
On those days, no safety net, no harness, no safety line. The only safety that was a life jacket in case you fall underwater.
19-year-old steelworker Gary Poirier is not so self-assured. In a dream the night before, he watched the bridge collapse and saw himself sliced in two by a steel cable. Perhaps the dream is fueled by the fact that 4 men have fallen to their deaths since the decision was made to build another bridge. While 2 bridges already span the narrows of the vast Burrard Inlet, they can barely handle the traffic between Vancouver and communities on the North Shore.
The reason it's called the Second Narrows is because there was a First Narrows, and the First Narrows is at Stanley Park at the Lionsgate Bridge. The Second Narrows is the narrower of the 2, and consequently the current runs through there in just a horrific rate.
The current has always been a problem for the original Second Narrows Bridge. Completed in 1925, it is redesigned in the 1930s after being damaged by ships pushed into it by swirling harbor waters. It remains a rickety antique that must be raised to allow ships to pass underneath.
It went up and down for every fishing boat with a mast. That was every boat over a certain size had a mast. Up and down it went, every barge that went through there. And when she went up, that meant that nobody went across. The trains didn't go and the cars didn't go.
The builders of the new bridge don't intend to make the same mistakes. The new Second Narrows Bridge is a cantilever design, with anchor spans and concrete piers providing support for the cantilever arms that will join over the harbor. By Tuesday, June 17, 1958, the 17 piers that will serve as foundation for the bridge are in place, and 4 approach spans coming from the North Shore have been completed. A 5th, the North Anchor Span, is in the process of being erected. It is supported at one end by Pier 14. The other end is held up by what bridge builders call a falsework.
The falsework is a temporary support. When you put a bridge, you got 2 solid permanent foundation. If you cannot make one girder long enough to reach between one to the other one, you have to use many shorter sections. And each one of them have to get a set of crutches until you sit that piece.
The north anchor span is already held up by one false work and is just 24 hours away from reaching a second temporary support.
The piece we were putting in now was the one before last, before we would be sitting on solid steel. Another week we would be sitting on permanent concrete foundation. We were that close.
Engineers responsible for design specifications, including the false works, are on the bridge that day. Veteran Murray McDonald is one of the most experienced bridge builders in the country. His assistant, John McKibben, is a recent graduate who has only been with the company for a year. Connectors Bill Stroud, Joe Crush, Norm Atkinson, and Colin Glendinning are all on the north anchor span, 30 meters above the Burrard Inlet.
There's other fellows that were inside the hollow steel girders, bolting up, and that's all they did. Just wearing earplugs and inside, and they don't see nothing.
Big John Olenek is one of them. At 6'1", he is jammed inside one of the girders as partner Al McPherson inches over to give him a hand. In the water below, Bill Lasko mans a barge equipped with life jackets. It's his job to rescue anyone who might fall into the harbor during working hours. Up above, the train whistle startles Gary Poirier, who mentions his uneasiness to 22-year-old bolter George Schmidt. Schmidt tells him, "If the noise gets your goat up here, then it's goodbye, Charlie." 79 men work on the north end of the bridge, including a gang of painters covering the adjacent span with silver paint. Many of them are tied to the girders by safety belts. It is 3:40 p.m., less than an hour from quitting time.
I myself was on one of the leg of the derrick, which is about 10-15 feet higher than the bridge, doing the signal to pick the load. I just give the signal to pick the thing up. As we're picking the load, that's what that's happened.
In a nearby neighborhood, 9-year-old Alan Safrick plays baseball with friends.
I was pitching to this guy named Ron Vellman. Man, he hit this ball way over the edge, and I turned to look and see this ball go, and it was just like a shunt. It just shook me like that, right? It was something that we never heard before, you know?
There was a high-pitch steel snapping. You cannot describe it. When you fire a rifle there, let's put in your sound like this. Then there was only the sound, there was boom.
With the noise, the anchor span shudders, then slumps a few meters. It pauses for just a heartbeat. Then, with another convulsive spasm, the south end of the span plummets toward the waters below, taking men and equipment with it.
And I was hanging on with my shoulder on the drive, no bracing, like that. And then when the bridge went, I still must have hung onto that cable because my hand was all torn. I was immediately knocked off, and probably Norm too. And we went right down into the water.
As the span falls, bolter Al McPherson is killed instantly by the crush of heavy steel. His partner, John Olenek, is still inside the hollow girder. The anchor span's violent fall cracks the concrete foundation of its support pier. The movement pulls the pier out from under the adjacent span, causing it to fall as well. The 25 painters working on it go too, some still strapped to falling steel.
When the noise echoed into the mountains there in the inlet, we ran to the edge of the field and we were like, what happened, right? And there was a man, and he says, the bridge is gone. It's gone. And we were like, the bridge is gone?
Tuesday, June 17th, 1958. Just after 3:40 p.m., 16-year-old Vancouver scuba diver Phil Newton gathers his equipment for a salvage job.
We had an illegal tugboat radio, and we listened to the tug calls, and very often we would pick up salvage jobs, and we were listening to somebody was screaming in the radio. It's falling, the whole thing's falling, you know. So of course we stopped dead in our tracks, and there was all kinds of static, and then someone else cut in and said, yeah, it looks like the whole section swung in. There's people in the water. We need to get help right away. So we called the police right away and asked for a police escort. We told them the route we were taking and started off for the Second Narrows.
The scene that Phil Newton races to at the bridge site is one of chaos, destruction, and death.
It was like looking at a tinker toy. When you were from where we were looking down on it, it was just somebody just made a mechano set, and then some 300-pound man had jumped off the chair on the top of it.
Men who survive the sudden collapse of steel now cling to broken girders or fight for their lives in the rushing current of Vancouver Harbor. Ironworker Bill Stroud falls 30 meters into the icy water.
You'd have all this heavy equipment, so when the bridge went down, you just went right straight to the bottom. When it hit the water, I was in between the two main parts of the bridge, and it stirred up so much mud and sand that there's no way you could just see up and down. And I'm a good swimmer, and I thought, geez, I'm going to drown, you know.
From his perch high above the bridge, Foreman Lou Lassard falls 60 meters into the harbor.
The impact was so much, the life jacket just fall apart at them. As soon as I hit the water, I kind of feel blood coming through my nose and my throat when you break bones. I was pretty close from dying, you know. Then all in once, I can start to see a little bit of a ray. Like sometimes you see the sun poking through the cloud there, then I knew that was up that way. When I get up, I saw some big plane floating, so I managed to get one, but I found out I had broken out. Then I found another plane. I was holding on it.
Some distance away, 3 more survivors reach the surface. Norm Atkinson, Colin Glendenning, and Bill Stroud.
Everybody got rid of their tool belts, and I was able to unhook them and throw them in the water. When we come up out of the water, Norm and Colin and I, there were so many scaffold planks. They were about 4 deep, and we had to pry them apart. And so I was able to lean there with our arms holding us up.
Steelworker Gary Poirier, who dreamt of his own death the night before, has also survived. He clings to a floating 2x4 and drifts with the current. In a jumble of broken steel, his friend George Smith discovers that one of his legs has been chopped off clean, just above the knee.
We could see him up in the girder up there, and he's up there smoking a cigarette, and he took his belt and put on a tourniquet to himself.
When rescuers finally reach him, George is waiting patiently, still smoking a cigarette. Boatman Bill Lasco spends the next 6 hours navigating his safety barge through tangled girders, picking up men wherever he can find them. He is assisted by surveyor Art Pilon in a small fiberglass outboard. One of Art's first rescues is Lou Lassard.
He never asked any question. He just grabbed me and threw me in his boat. I was mad at him because broken leg, broken arm, damaged this. He just grabbed me and threw me in.
For Phil Newton, the images are like nothing he has ever seen.
It was indescribable. There were people laying on the dock covered with canvases, obviously dead. There were people piled on top of each other. And there was one guy who had jumped from the bridge and landed on the pier and had sort of telescoped. The sides of his pants were burst open, and it was just a horror show.
Phil joins commercial and fire department divers already at the scene. Their first job is to try and save the life of Gordy McLean, who moments before was operating the diesel locomotive attached to the crane.
The top part of the cab was still above the water, but the bottom had crushed and was twisted, and the current was running at least 2 or 3 knots by the time we got there. And so it was very difficult to swim against him. The guy was just screaming. The water was about up to here on him. And so I tried to get underneath and find out what was pinning him. And I couldn't get through, so I took my tank off and tried to push it ahead of me as long as my hoses would allow, but I still couldn't reach him.
Phil and another diver try to pry some of the lighter steel apart, but they can't move it. When they return to the top of the cab, they discover that it is already too late for operator Gordy McLean.
It was silent, and his hair was just floating on the top of the water, so he was gone.
Time is also running out for bolter John Olenek, trapped inside steel girders that have fallen into the water. His only avenue of escape is too small to get through.
He was in there and no way to get him out. He had one arm and his head out trying to get out that hole, and the big bugger couldn't get out of there, no way. And the bridge was still settling and tide was coming in.
Then, through the settling dust, Olenek sees a boat approaching. It carries a team of 6 welders who were working just blocks away when they heard the crash. In minutes, they are cutting away sections of Olenek's steel tomb, piece by piece. By the time they free him, he is having trouble keeping his face out of the water. By now, boats of all shapes and sizes are arriving to help with the rescue of the living and the retrieval of the dead.
My brother was in high school. He and his friends went down there. They went down to the water, walked along the edge, and they pulled people out. Some of them had lost their legs, and it was brutal. They were somewhat changed by that experience. They didn't talk about it much, but they were all pretty well choked up when they came back.
You reach these sort of epiphanies, I suppose is the term, in your life where I really had never given thought to just how fragile human life is and how quickly it's snuffed out, and how inconsequential you are when you're laying there, covered by a piece of canvas.
It is the single worst disaster in Vancouver's history. 20 bridge men are hospitalized, many with serious injuries. 18 more are dead. Most are killed before they hit the water. Among the dead is Bill Stroud's friend, Joe Crush, who leaves behind his wife and 4 young children.
They couldn't find him after the bridge went down for a long time, and there's steel piling that was pulled together in kind of a wedge form, and eventually somebody spotted him sitting in there with the head chopped off. He was floated right up into the top of the piling.
I'm sure about us, a wife and kids and family worry what's happened today. 18 of them didn't come home that night, and another 20 in the hospital like me, they didn't come home.
Lou was one of the most seriously hurt that lived. They had to hoist him up maybe 30 feet, and they had a hold of his broken leg right up around his neck. That's how bad his leg was shattered. Norm had a broken neck, and Colin had broken legs. I had compressed fractures in my spine, 2 of them, and I broke some ribs on this side.
A Royal Commission of Inquiry investigates the cause of the tragedy. After only a few months, the commission releases its findings. The accident was caused by human error, a mathematical miscalculation made by the engineering team.
Our engineers, as a result of their analysis of the plans and so forth, reached a conclusion that there was a weakness in the design of the grillage at the foot of one of the falsework supports, the one that was furthest out. There was a young engineer, and he had the responsibility of designing the falsework. And the resident engineer was assigned or given the responsibility of checking the young engineer's work. And he missed the fact that the young engineer had used a wrong formula. And so it was under-designed. and it could not take the load that would be imposed on it. The grillage was under-designed. And both were on the bridge when it went down, and both died.
Just to think, one small mistake could have caused so much problem to so many people. That's hard to believe, right? The mind little thing could cause so much a big tragedy like this.
On June 7th, 1960, the two ends of the Second Narrows Bridge are finally joined over the Burrard Inlet. Front-end connector Norm Atkinson is the first man to walk across.
I was the first one to cross on top of the boom of the crane, but after we put the real solid piece between the two members, I gave Norm the order to go across, to give him the glory to be the first man across the structure, because he was my best friend, and he deserved it.
The Second Narrows Bridge is officially opened on August 25, 1960, just over 2 years after the accident. During the ceremony, the widow of one of the men killed unveils a plaque commemorating those lost during the bridge's construction.
We used to walk across when I was a kid, and we'd always stop there and hang out at that spot, you know. That was our favorite spot to rest there. Check out the plaque, and it used to be very touching to us. It was quite a moving thing to think about those guys.
Today, the disasters at Second Narrows and Britannia Beach still live on in the hearts and minds of many British Columbians. Britannia Beach is now a National Heritage Site and popular location for film and television production. It is also home to the British Columbia Museum of Mining, opened 1 year after the mine closed.
There's no annual remembrance event or ceremony or anything of that nature, but for Britannia residents, former and current, anybody who has lived or experienced Britannia or has any knowledge of Britannia history, it's always something that's on your mind. It will never be a forgotten part of Britannia's history.
On June 17, 1994, the name of the bridge over Vancouver Harbor was officially changed to the Ironworkers Memorial Second Narrows Crossing.
Every year, some of the survivors, some of the family, we go there, then we put a wreath there, then we have a few speech, then we have a few minutes of silence, then we got a roll call of all the members that lost their life on the bridge there. It's very sad when we go there. You feel like crying. Not that bad. That's our Canadian history, bad or good, that's history.